Now let's look at the second phase. Let's look at offense, the part that everybody loves, including me. You want to be getting that fat damage, so let's talk about how to do that. Now, the first way to generate offense, and the most easiest as we've already covered, is to jump in, but the other one that we haven't really covered is to get a knockdown. There are a lot of moves in this game that cause knockdown for your opponents, the most obvious one being a sweep. Every move in this game allows the opponent to get up quickly. There's only two types of moves that do not allow the opponent to get up quickly. The first is a crush counter, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and the second one is a super. These are what are called hard knockdowns. When your opponent is hit by either of these two moves, they are not able to get up quickly, but any other move will allow them to either get up slowly or quickly, which alters the game and your timing of things a little bit. But these are the two main ways that you can generate offense. Now, a knockdown is a very important way of generating pressure because it allows you to follow up safely. In any situation, you can follow up with another move after a knockdown and your opponent is at a disadvantage. It doesn't matter whether they have an invincible reversal at their disposal, it doesn't matter whether they have a super at their disposal. The risk or reward is always weighed in your favor when your opponent is knocked down because your options are more powerful than their options. What do I mean by this? Well, if I knock my opponent down, what can I do afterwards? I can do a melee attack. A melee attack is an attack which is designed and timed to hit the opponent as soon as they get up off the ground. The move is already in their face. My foot is already in Cammy's face as she gets up off the ground. Now this is incredibly powerful for a lot of reasons, and the most important one is that it negates Wakeup Jabs. So if we record Wake Up options for our good friend Cammy here, and set her to start doing jabs on Wake Up. Now Cammy will do a jab on Wake Up. Doing jabs on Wake Up is something that people in the lower tiers of the SFV ranks will do with monotonous regularity because it seems very effective and very strong. Because if you go for a throw, oh no, my throw has been stuffed. If I go for an attack, oh no, my attack's been stuffed. She got the counter hit there. So Wake Up jabs get done a lot after knockdowns, but they do not get done at high levels of play, and the reason for that is melee attacks. Melee attacks that, as I said, are timed to be in their face when they get up off the ground. There is no time to do a jab. As fast as a jab looks, Cammy's jab is 3 frames. It's the fastest jab in the game. You can't do a move for any character faster than 3 frames. But at the same time, if I time my kick properly, she still gets beaten. And it doesn't matter how many times she's done it, I've learned the timing to be able to beat her on Wake Up every single time. So very quickly, I will dissuade the enemy from doing Wake Up attacks because I can do that into a combo for a lot of damage. Cammy just lost half her life for doing a Wake Up jab. That is a really good way to dissuade your opponent from not doing Wake Up jabs. Even if I don't have super available to me, I can still do a basic combo as we saw before to get a good amount of damage and dissuade Cammy from doing jabs on Wake Up. This is why getting a knockdown is so powerful. You remove options from your opponent. Now let's say you're fighting against a character like Cammy who has an option of using an uppercut on Wake Up, or DP as I like to call them, for short for Dragon Punch. Now, Wake Up DPs from certain characters are invincible. Now those characters are Ryu, Ken, Nikali, and Cammy. Even with all the other characters that have come out over the last several months, those 4 are the only characters who have an uppercut available to them on Wake Up, which is invincible without spending meter. Every character in the game has a Wake Up reversal that they can use, which spends meter and is invincible, but these 4 are a particular threat because they can do a reversal, which is invincible, that does not spend meter. So in this instance, if I was to do my axe kick, it gets beaten because her move is invincible. So even though my foot was in her face as she got up, because she was invincible at the time, I still lose the exchange. So you might think to yourself, as a lot of people do, this is a really powerful option to do on Wake Up. And you would be correct. In very small amounts. You can't use it every time you get knocked down, even if you are playing one of these 4 characters. If you're not playing one of these 4 characters, you have to spend meter. But if you are, you still can't use it all the time because you can get what is called a crush counter. What is a crush counter? A crush counter is a certain move that each character can use to put their opponent in a crumpled state after blocking a particular type of attack. In this instance, Jury's standing heavy kick is what causes crush counter. Now normally, it does not cause crush counter on hits. However, if it's used during the recovery frames of moves, we'll get what's called the crush counter. Now you see that there, in the left-hand side of the screen, you saw the words crush counter appeared, and there was a strange sound effect that happened when she was hit, and instead of just getting knocked back as she would normally, Cammy actually got spun backwards. Watch it again. She was spinning it backwards. Now the thing is that during that spinning animation, she can be hit again by moves that would not normally combo. In addition, while you're in crush counter state, you take an extra 25% damage, which makes it a very powerful tool for dissuading people from doing reversals. Watch what happens this time. That was a 3-hit combo, which is not normally possible in that type of situation. You normally can't do standing heavy kick and standing punch. It doesn't work. But off a crush counter, standing heavy kick and standing punch does work. In addition, I just took off a quarter of Cammy's health on a single reversal. So again, 4 of those and Cammy will be almost dead if she's not already. So that's something important to keep in mind again, that you can take a lot of damage off a crush counter, and it's even worse again if I decide to use super. Cammy just lost over half her life off a crush counter. So again, these are very powerful tools you can use to dissuade your opponent from doing dragon punches on Wake Up. So if your opponent is the kind of person who likes to do that, always have your crush counter at the ready. If you knock your opponent down and they do nothing on Wake Up, then that's fine. You've sacrificed a small amount of pressure and reset to a neutral game. That's the worst case outcome if you knock them down and they do nothing. But if you knock them down, they do a dragon punch, they can lose a tremendous amount of life off a bad guess. So once again, the risk reward is slated solely in your favor after a knockdown. So let's say your opponent has learned to stop doing dragon punches or any kind of moves on Wake Up, even jabs, and they're just going to sit there and crouch on Wake Up. Now, as I said, in the worst case scenario, this is what's going to happen, and you're just going to reset to a neutral game. Resetting to neutral basically means that your phase of offense has ended, both characters may retreat a little bit, and you'll be back to the neutral game looking to see who can generate offense first. Now, what you want to do is that you want to condition your opponent to do things on Wake Up. You don't want them to just block. So what are they going to do if they block? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to throw. Simplest answer is to do a throw. You can do an overhead as well, but the simplest answer is to just walk up and throw. The worst thing that can happen in this situation is they can do a reversal, in which case, if they do that, you know that they have not been conditioned to stop doing Wake Up moves, in which case you can go back to punching their Wake Up reversals. But if you have conditioned them to stop pressing buttons after a knockdown, you want to start doing throws to make them nervous about getting thrown. Because what does a throw do? It puts them in a knockdown and you're able to go and attack them again. Now, timing a throw for a Wake Up is the same as timing a Wake Up meaty. You need to time it so it's going to be in their face as soon as they get up. You don't want to wait until they've woken up to do the throw. You want to do it a split second before they finish waking up. In addition, if they are doing jabs or anything else like that, your throw will still beat their jabs. If you time it right, a throw has slightly more startup than a jab does. At best, a jab will have 3 frames of startup animation. At any given time for any opponent, a regular throw has 5 frames of startup animation, which is why it's important to start it a split second before they finish getting up. Now, it's important to know what your options are at different distances. As I said before, if I'm at this distance, I know I'm able to stuff Cammy's Wake Up jab. However, if I do a throw, suddenly Cammy is further away from me. If she was to do a fast Wake Up, which I can't get the computer to do, however, if she was to do one, I can't dash in and do my X kick. If I wait till she wakes up, she's actually able to stuff my dash. Because the dash does not come out fast enough to get me there in time to stuff that Wake Up reversal. So, you need to know what your options are at different distances. For Jury at certain distances, she's actually able to do a very ambiguous jump in cross up after a knockdown. So for example, if I do my throw, and Cammy wakes up, I'm now at this particular distance from Cammy. If I jump in and do a medium kick, it's incredibly ambiguous as to which side it's actually going to land on. So that in that instance looked like an actual cross-up, and it was. So it's a good thing to have at your disposal to know what you're able to do at certain distances. That time it did not land in front. So off a back throw it lands in front, however off a forward throw it lands in the back. So it's very important to know what these things do for your range when you're attacking your opponent, because it gives you different options. So these are all tools that you can use to confuse your opponent and be able to score damage on them when you would not think it actually possible. Obviously I can't show this off for every character, but you need to go into the lab and look at ways you can use the training room to be able to learn things about your character and what options they have at certain distances. Now let's look at a thing called Grey Life. Grey Life was one of the very small changes that Capcom made Street Fighter V, which makes a huge difference to how the game works. And it looks like something like this. I've already set Cammy up to guard all my attacks, and watch what happens when I attack Cammy continuously. As you can see, there is a grey amount of life appearing in Cammy's meter here, and it's not going away. The more I attack her, the more white or grey life appears in her meter. And it continues to pile up regardless of how much she actually blocks. Now if I leave her alone for a second, it recovers. But if I don't leave her alone, it will continue to build up as long as I keep attacking her or as long as she keeps blocking. This is an incredibly important part of the game to remember, because it allows you to create an extra amount of damage even when your opponent is blocking, and that damage will be removed as soon as you land a successful attack. So it doesn't matter if it's a lag kick or a throw or anything else, if you get one attack, all of that white life will disappear in addition to the damage that you just did. So Cammy actually lost a huge amount of life in that particular instance just from eating a throw, because she's been blocking all my attacks so far. And again, it continues to pile up over time the more damage you do to them. Now this is something which can be used to your advantage, because your opponent is aware of how much white life they take in at any given point. They may start to play defensively to try and recover that white life, in which case you can continue to attack them. And in instances, you will be very rare to get this amount of grey or white life built up. But white life does add up over a match, so even if it's just a few hits, even if we just got a small amount of hits here, as you can see here, it's just a sliver on the bar, several of those will equate to a full hit, and it will continue to pile up over the course of the match. So white life is something to be very aware of. If you can keep your opponent blocking, at any given point you are still getting damage on them, provided you can land one extra hit. Now another very important part of Wake Up's knockdowns is what's called the Shimmy. Now the Shimmy is something which has been in use in Street Fighter 3 and was coined by a man called Gutex, who was a very popular man in the fighting game community. The Shimmy is a technique where you knock your opponent down and then start to walk back and forth. Now the reason for this is that not only does it put your opponent a little bit on edge after a knockdown, but it also allows you to do several things which are quite advantageous. Most important of which is that it will allow you to cause their grab to whiff. Now you see that I caused a grab to whiff, but I'm still in attack range, so if I want to, I can then follow up with an attack. This is what's known as a whiff punish. So if you cause their grab or their attacks to whiff, you are then able to poke afterwards to cause damage. Additionally, the Shimmy is also very good for baiting reversals like the Dragon Punch. Or just the plain old jab, as we've already mentioned. So the Shimmy is something that you always want to keep in mind and work to perfect, because it maximizes your ability to punish and beat certain reversal options while still keeping you very safe. Now the last and most important thing to remember about offense is to remember that nothing is cheap if it works. Street Fighter is all game about being skillful and being able to outthink your opponent. It doesn't matter what you do so long as it works. Your opponent can't complain that throws are cheap. Throws just mean that they should have taken the throw, or they shouldn't have been in a situation where they get thrown a lot. Supers aren't cheap. Super is something which you should use sparingly or use them in combos to be able to ensure they get damage if they hit. Again, your opponent should not have been getting hit by them. So don't worry about thinking about whether something is cheap or not. The onus is on your opponent to be able to beat it. If it's cheap, it should be able to be beaten easily.